Most people, they don't wake up one day and just decide to live a life they're unhappy with. It just happens slowly, quietly, one decision at a time, or more accurately, one non decision at a time. Because if you don't actively choose your life, it'll get chosen for you. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today on a brand new episode of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. My co host Ben will be back next week. But today, just want to share again with you guys all about how to design a life rather than just drifting through it. So, got a few different segments. This could be a quick and easy one, though, for you today. But I want to start off just talking a little bit more about the default path. And what I mean by here is, there's a path that most people follow, without ever really thinking about it. Going to school, getting a job, maybe working your way up in that job, staying comfortable, avoiding risk. There's nothing inherently wrong with that path, but there is a problem. And that is that most people, they never stop just to ask themselves, is this actually what I want? They just keep going because it feels safe. It feels familiar. It feels expected. And before, they know it, years go by, sometimes even decades, and they realize only after the fact that they've been living a life that they really never intentionally chose. So there's a better way to do this, and that's this idea of drifting versus designing. And there's a big difference between the two. With drifting, you're looking at something that is reactive. You take what comes your way, you adjust as needed and you just go kind of with the flow. Designing, however, is intentional. You decide where you want to live, how you want to spend your time, what kind of work maybe that you want to do, what kind of life you actually want to build. And then you start aligning your actions with that vision. And believe it or not, here's the truth. Drifting is actually easier in the short term, but much harder in the long term. Designing your life is harder up front, but then it gives you control over where you actually end up. And that's the exciting part. So now I just want to talk to you guys about the cost of not choosing, because the cost of not choosing your life is that you end up settling into one that really doesn't fit you. And you wake up in a home you didn't think much about, maybe in a routine that you didn't really design, and you're around people that you maybe didn't even intentionally choose to be around. And everything feels, again, the word I'm going to use here is fine, but that's not feeling great. And that's the dangerous part, because fine is easy to tolerate, but over time, it leads to frustration, leads to feeling stuck. It leads to wondering, how did I actually end up here? And the answer is usually the same. You didn't choose it. You just went along with it. So there's a good news behind all of this, and that is that you can actually take back control. And it's basically pretty simple. The good news is that you can change at any point of your life just by making intentional decisions today. Small ones at first. Think about how you spend your time, what you focus on, maybe who you surround yourself with. And then start thinking about the bigger questions, where you live, what kind of work you pursue, what goals you're actually chasing. Because once you start choosing your life, you stop reacting to it. And that shift is really, really powerful. So I want to talk now just about real estate and kind of tying this into real estate, since that's what I do on a daily basis. And this also, though, applies to a lot of other areas. But just to use real estate as an example, where you live isn't just a financial decision. It's a life decision. The area you choose to live in, the home you live in, the actual home you live in, the environment that you're surrounded by, all of this stuff, it shapes your daily experience, your habits, your lifestyle. And the biggest one is your opportunities. So if you're not intentional about it, you can easily end up in a place that just doesn't actually support the life you want. And I see this all the time because people choose based on what's easy, what's available, maybe what seems good enough instead of what actually aligns with their goals. So if there's one thing to take away from this quick episode today, it's this. Just don't let life happen to you. Decide what you want and start moving towards it, even if it's just one small step at a time. Because the longer you wait, the easier it is to keep drifting. And if you're somebody who's thinking about making a move here in Denver, whether that's, maybe buying your first home, upgrading, or investing, that's a huge decision, and that should be made very intentionally. I'd be happy to help you guys through any of that. So again, if you ever want to connect on a more personal one-on-one level, just go to adamsoulsdenver.com, and I'd love to connect with you guys there. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. And Ben and I will be back next Friday for a brand new episode of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. We'll see you guys then.